Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad to see a lot of people who are with some familiar names joining us today. For those who are new, my name is Mitch Kanyero, and I'm a trader with Afriforex. Want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, during these sessions, we as a Forex team, remember we analyze the markets early in the morning. We identify and look for what trading opportunities we're looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So I'm not here alone. We do have the Forex team in here in the back office. So feel free to ask whatever questions or queries you might have in the chat box. The team will be able to respond to you, but I will also be looking to address them at the end of the session. So let's jump straight into it. So we'll start off with our watch list. Just 1 second. So starting off with our watch list. We do have a number of changes to our watch list. You can see yesterday, our focus was looking for selling opportunities on the Japanese yen as well as the Canadian dollar. And we're looking to mix and match both of these pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. Now, you can see there's been a big change to the watch list. We'll still be looking for selling opportunities on the Canadian dollar, but you can see a number of pairs have moved to the sell side. So that's the Australian dollar, the Swiss franc, the British pound, as well as the New Zealand dollar. You can see on the buy side, we will be focusing on looking for buys on the euro, the US dollar, and the Japanese yen. So our focus today is going to be on these three pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side, but we do have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So in terms of fundamentals, we did end up having a lot of Japanese yen news early in the morning. That's the reason why it did end up changing our bias. You can see also British pound and Australian dollar fundamentals did come in. Now, today, during the London session, there's not really much. Yes, there is a Euro group meeting, but not necessarily something that's going to change the market. And you can see during the US session, also not necessarily going to be that much activity in terms of fundamentals, but that does not mean today will not be an active day. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. So for now, at least the watch list is the same. So let's end up having a look at a few pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. So the first one, or at least the first pair we'll start off with, is the euro against the Japanese yen. Now, our bias yesterday was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out to look for the buys. Now, the price was within this particular area early in the morning. We mentioned that we wanted the price to ideally come down, potentially give us some sort of probe or price action signal, show us that the price is actually holding above for us to look for buying opportunities. And you can see the price did manage to come down, giving us some sort of probe. It looked as if it was attempting to try and come and hold above. And you can see this was around 3 o'clock. Now, remember also one thing to note, the US times have changed. So I know we normally mention that the US market opens at 4, then the New York Stock Exchange opens at 5:30. But since due to daylight savings, it is 1 hour behind. So we will be focusing on 3 and 4:30. Those are the times now. The US market is opening at 3, and the New York Stock Exchange is going to be opening at 4:30. So focusing on the times at 3, the price was within this particular bias area. Unfortunately, you can see the price has attempted to probe multiple times. Seems that the big boys yesterday during the US session were not actually interested in it. And even though the price is still holding within this particular area, the fact that both the euro and the Japanese yen are both showing strength, that's the reason we are seeing these pairs actually ranging. So unfortunately for us today, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list. Now, the next pair we did have was the US dollar against the Japanese yen. This pair, we were meant to look for buying opportunities. Remember, I did point out, when you look at one yen pair, have a look at the other pairs, because you could end up finding, or at least some good correlation on them. You can see this pair did end up actually coming to the downside. Now, we wanted to see some sort of probe where the price managed to come up and hold above, as you can see based on this illustration. However, the price came to the downside. You can see confirmation that the price is holding below. Even though the price managed to come to an extreme area and around 3 on 4:30, the price did end up attempting to come up, but you can clearly see still holding below this particular area. So unfortunately for us, there was no real trading opportunity as soon as it broke to the downside. And that's the reason why also today it is off our watch list. Now, the next pair we did have was the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. Now, the Canadian dollar pairs are the pairs that did end up working out yesterday. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, the price was within this particular area. Remember, I had pointed out that there were some sellers right here. And if we are able to break that area to the upside and the price holds above, it could have been a buying opportunity. And you can see that's exactly what happened around 10 and 11 o'clock during the US London market open, where the price managed to go to the upside. You can see there was a hold above this particular area. And this was just before the US market at around 3, where the price managed to continue going to the upside. Now you can see based on the time that the price actually started coming down, that was at 4:30. That was during the New York Stock Exchange. So it was after that the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar did end up getting a lot of weakness. And that's the reason why this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. Now, the next pair we did have was the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. Similar correlation with the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar, where the price did manage to break this area to the upside. You can see the price holding above. This was during the Frankfurt market open, where the price did manage to continue going to the upside. Did have a seller's area here that I did point out to watch out for. And you can see, even as the price broke that area to the upside and held above, you can see there was a buying opportunity just around 2:30, just 30 minutes before the US market did open. But a similar situation with the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar at around 4:30 during the New York Stock Exchange open. That's when you can see the price started coming to the downside. So the reason why we always mention these timings is that you will find the markets actually starting to move in one direction, where it'll either take off, or you might end up finding that the markets do end up turning at that point in time. So that's the reason why we always take note of the time. So that's 10, 11, 3, and 4:30. So next pair we did have was the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. The sales did work, but unfortunately, we could not necessarily get the pullback coming in up higher. You can see we were within this particular area. Did end up attempting to start coming to the upside, but you can clearly see it did end up respecting this seller's area here. We were hoping to see it come up a bit higher, but you can see at 11 o'clock during the London market open, price was in that seller's area. Did manage to come down. If you missed that trade, you can see there was a small opportunity here once the price did end up breaching and holding below this particular area. But it's a similar situation at around 3 o'clock during the US market open and 4:30. That's when the price actually started coming to the upside. And you can see it has been quite choppy, just ranging between those levels. So unfortunately, even though the Canadian dollar did try to push this down, but because both the Canadian dollar and the Swiss franc are both on the same side, chances are you could find the market just ranging between two levels. So unfortunately for us, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. Now, the next pair we did have was the British pound against Canadian dollar. Now, this kind of pair, our bias yesterday was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that Pat pointed out. We ended up getting a very nice probe coming to the downside where the price managed to come up. Unfortunately, the hold to the upside wasn't really confirmed. You can see the bias really took off to the upside. Was hoping to get some sort of pullback within the support and resistance area, even still have an alert within that particular area where I was hoping the price was going to come back to look for a buying opportunity, but unfortunately that was missed. But you can see the trade did work out very nicely during the London session, and at 4:30 during the New York Stock Exchange, you can see the price actually started giving a pullback. Now it might still go up, but remember both the British pound and the Canadian dollar being both on the same side, you will potentially end up getting some issues on this pair. And that's the reason why it is off our watch list for today. So hope that's clear for the pairs for review. You can see the yen pairs not necessarily worked out well, but the Canadian dollar pairs really did. So before we do end up focusing on the pairs that we're going to be looking at today, let's have a look at a few screenshots that we did get before we do focus on the pairs that we're looking at. So we'll start off here with George Tege. Very happy to see a screenshot here. He did manage to grab a buying opportunity on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Seems that you took advantage of that Australian dollar strength that was coming in. Up to see your trade going in your direction. Very well done. Up to see also your stop loss below your entry. And the good thing is we did buy within an area where there are buyers. It's definitely a location where buyers have reacted multiple times. So it's a very, very good entry. But I do end up hoping as the price is going up higher, you are managing your trade because you can clearly see you have multiple areas where sellers could potentially end up reacting from. But still, very, very well done on this trade, George. Check it. Keep up the good work and keep sending in your screenshots. We really do appreciate it and happy to see the growth in your trading. So also next we get Peter. Peter, happy to see a screenshot here. He did manage to grab a buying opportunity on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Seems you took advantage of that pullback that happened during the London session, the US session. But you did manage to grab a buy at the extreme. So very, very precise buy right there. Prices come up in your favor. You can see the pullback coming in. Very good placement of your stop loss, which is below the buyer's area right there. So very, very well done. So ideally, you are following the trend. If the market continues making higher highs, you will continue making money. If the price comes down, it closes you out within this area. You've maximized basically on the trade where if it does start pulling back, you've taken the most. But ideally, that's a good thing. Sometimes, sometimes you could end up feeling bad that you were at a certain profit level and you only took a certain amount. But remember, there will be times when the markets will just continue. As you keep on moving your stop loss higher, you could end up maximizing on a very, very big trade. So it works out both ways, but still, the whole point is managing your trade and being able to repeat the process. So very well done, Peter, and keep sending in your screenshots as well. So shout out to all of you who didn't manage to send in your screenshot. Really do appreciate it. Remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are in the video description. So let's focus on today's pairs. So we'll start off with the euro pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side. Then we'll move on to the US dollar. Then we'll jump onto the yen pairs before we do look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So starting off with the euro pairs, we'll start off with the euro against the Canadian dollar. Now, these are kinds of pair we did have yesterday, looking for buying opportunities. And you can see the buys really did work out quite well. You can see the market ended up giving us a pullback, coming back within our area of interest within the London session, which you can see that was at 11 o'clock. And from then on, the price managed to continue going to the upside throughout the London session, even a bit during the US session, because you can see the price was able to break and hold above this particular area. You can see the price holding above, showing us confirmation, and there could have been a buying opportunity there. So the euro did work out quite well as well with the Canadian dollar. And today we will still be looking for buying opportunities on this kind of pair. So right now, if you notice, we're within an area where there's sellers, so that's definitely not a good place to look for your buying opportunities. So the one thing we would want is either a pullback to come in or the price actually breaking this area to the upside. So we need either the market actually to come back in. This could end up either happening during the London session, where you could find that during the US market open, the price is within this particular buyer's area here, you could end up finding a nice buying opportunity. But remember, alternatively, the price is able to continue going to the upside and you find the price breaking above this area. Remember, wait for that pullback to come in. Don't necessarily jump in on your buying opportunity when the price is all the way at the top. Confirm that it's actually a breach, because we have seen many times that the price goes to the upside and it actually just starts coming down to actually give you a better price. So do watch out for that. But overall, we'll definitely still be looking for buying opportunities on the euro against Canadian dollar. So we'll just need to be a bit patient and wait to see what happens. Now, moving on to the next euro pair we do have. Right here, we have the euro against the Australian dollar, brand new entry in our watch list. And you can see similar correlation on the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar pairs, which we'll end up having a look at around 4:30 during the New York Stock Exchange. That's when the prices actually just started showing us a lot of weakness. So you can see the price managing to go up, making even new highs. So overall, we will be looking for buying opportunities, but you can see the similar correlation with the euro against Canadian dollar. Right now, we're within an area where there's sellers. So it's not necessarily a good place to look for your buying opportunities. So one of two things needs to happen. The pullback needs to come in, and this is what we would prefer to come in. Potentially looking and seeing what kind of reaction we do end up getting within this buyer's area. We do see some sort of slowdown and the buyers actually coming in and showing interest there. We will definitely end up looking for buying opportunities there. But be aware, since right now, these, at least the two euro pairs that we've looked at, do seem as if they're correlating a bit based on the fact that they're both within areas where they're sellers. We'll wait to see what ends up happening. Either a breach of that seller's area or the pullback is actually going to come in. So in this pair, similar situation with the euro against Canadian dollar. We just do need to be a bit patient to wait to see what kind of reaction we get within that area. Now, moving on to the next euro pair, here we do have the euro against the Swiss franc. So brand new entry in our watch list. And our bias here is to look for buying opportunities on this kind of pair. So overall, we can see the areas that we have identified to potentially look for buying opportunities. Now, one thing to take note of is this price has actually been coming to the downside. As you can see, it's been coming down quite a bit. There's potential that this could just be a big pullback. So if we do end up looking at the fact that the market overall has been going to the upside, we have gotten some sort of pullback where the sellers were really coming in very strong. But right now, they do seem to be slowing down. So the main area where the sellers do seem to be is within this particular location. So I know even those who have done our education, either the one-on-one mentorship or the AMP, will realize that this does seem to be like a very good trade potentially coming in, especially due to the fact that the price did manage to come back within some sort of small support and resistance area before attempting to go to the upside. But we do know the fact that right now, even though we do want to end up buying this, we are within an area where there's sellers, and you can see how many times this market has reacted within this location. So I think the best thing for us to wait on this one is either waiting for a breach to happen and the pullback comes in, and we do see the price holding above, we could end up finding a very nice buying opportunity here on the euro against the Swiss franc. So wait to see what ends up happening, but definitely we wait to see right here. Seen many times that the market has actually probed this area, even though the price has gone all the way at the top. Don't necessarily just assume that it's a buy. Wait for confirmation that the price is actually going to hold above. But this one does look like it could be a very nice trading opportunity available for us. The price manages to get here. Do make sure you manage your trade within this seller's area right here at the top. You can see these are the sellers who did manage to push this price down. But I think it's a similar situation. If we do get the price breaching and holding above this this yellow support resistance area at the top, then ideally we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities here on the euro against Swiss franc. There could be some potentially good buys on this currency pair. So hope that is clear on the euro against the Swiss franc. If we move on to the next euro pair that we do have. So right here we have the euro against the British pound, brand new entry on our watch list. And our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. Now we are starting to see some sort of small move coming in, or at least some small push of the buyers. That's not confirmed that yet that that's an actual breach, but the fact that we've seen it also on the euro against the Swiss franc, there's a chance that you could find, yes, this could be now the euro pairs attempting to break this area to the upside. But remember what I pointed out, we need to get confirmation that the price is actually going to hold above that area. So wait to see what ends up happening right here with the euro against the British pound. It's either this ends up just being a sort of probe and you find the price either coming back down within this particular buyer's area for us to look for a potential buying opportunity there, or you could easily find the price actually breaking this area to the upside, where if these sellers are not interested in the price is able to break to the upside. I think if we do end up getting our price coming back in, holding above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities. But right now, let's wait to see what happens. You can see the timing. It's around 9:22, so 30 minutes or around 40 minutes before the Frankfurt market opens. So do watch out for those timings. So remember, 10, 11, 3, and 4:30. So moving on to the next and last euro pair, here we have the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Brand new entry on our watch list, and our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. Now you can see the same correlation coming in with all these euro pairs, where the prices do seem to be challenging. They do seem to be challenging this main seller right here at the top. So we wait to see. Similar story on all these euro pairs. It seems like I'm repeating the same thing. We do get the price breaching to the upside. Let's see if we do get the price holding above. If we do, then we should be able to look for those buying opportunities. But be aware, if the price never holds to the upside, you see it coming back in and holding below, chances are we should still be coming back down within this particular buyer's area before we're able to look for those buying opportunities. So in these situations, we'll wait to see what happens with the euro pairs, whether or not this euro strength that's coming in is actually real or something to incite breakout traders to start looking for buys. Then all of them get stopped out once the pullback comes in. I've seen that many times. Most people then start assuming it's the broker, but ideally it's just the way the market works. So we wait to see what ends up happening on these euro pairs. So hope that's clear on the euro pairs. As you can see, we've mix and match the euro with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to move on to the US dollar pairs and do the same thing. So we'll start off with the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So yesterday we did end up having this currency pair looking for buying opportunities, and you can see the buys did work out. So a similar situation where it's either, since the price was within a seller's area, it's either we needed a pullback to come in or waiting for the price to breach and hold above. And you can see it did manage to actually breach and hold above. Nothing happened during the London session. As you can see, the price was just maintaining within that location. But once it was able to break this area to the upside and hold above, you do take note of the time. It's just 30 minutes before the US market opened, around 2:30 or so. But you can see once the price did hold above, you can see the buys did end up working out quite well. So overall today, the bias is going to be the same, still looking for those buying opportunities. You can see the market has made a huge probe right here. And the fact that within an area where the sellers, you can see the reason why we encourage wait for the price to actually hold to the upside. So overall, we will be looking for buying opportunities. But the fact that within an area where the sellers, it's a similar story. I think you guys might have understood it now. So it's either we get the price actually breaking this area to the upside and holding above. We do see that there should be a buying opportunity there. But the fact that we're within an area where the sellers, it's not a good place to jump in on a buy. It's either we get the price being breached or at least breaching this area to the upside, or we actually end up getting a pullback coming in. And if we do see the price holding above, so we'll wait to see what happens within this first support and resistance area. Because you can see this was a major SNR that was broken to the upside. So we need to probably end up seeing whether or not the price will come back to test that area before we're able to look for those potential buying opportunities. So hope that's clear on the US dollar against Canadian dollar. Let's move on to the next US dollar pair. So right here, we have the Australian dollar against the US dollar, brand new entry on our watch list. You can see they don't know necessarily what happened during the New York Stock Exchange, but all the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar pairs did end up showing us a lot of weakness. So today, bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. And remember, buy with buyers and sell with sellers. And due to the fact that we're within an area where the buyers we definitely know there's nothing for us to do right here. We do need to be a bit patient, wait to see either we do end up getting this pullback coming in, then either this support and resistance area before we're able to look for sales, or you could easily find this buyer's area not necessarily showing us much strength. You could also see the fact that they are attempting to try and come up higher. They do end up giving up, and the price is able to break this area to the downside. It's a similar situation where we do want to see the price holding below for us to look for selling opportunities. But right now, we do need to be a bit patient. Let's wait to see what ends up happening, especially based on how the buyers are reacting, and especially if you compare both the buyers and the sellers. You can see the way the sellers seems to be pushing within this area. Look at their push to the downside, not really able to make a new low. The buyers came in aggressive, but now the next time the sellers are coming down, they do seem to be coming down a bit slower. That's the reason why it's not necessarily best to look for selling opportunities now. The sellers do seem to be a bit weak, so maybe we need to incite a few more buyers before the sellers do become strong. However, we'll wait to see what ends up happening on this currency pair. So hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. At least what our game plan is. If the price has come down, let's wait to see if we can get the pullback for us to look for those sells. So the next US dollar pair we do have is the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, on this currency pair, it's a brand new entry on our watch list. Similar situation where our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So our focus is going to be within these three areas. Right now, if you do realize, we do seem to be in some sort of range bouncing between these two levels, which is okay. And remember, if we are within a range, the best place to look for your buying opportunities is at the bottom of the range. So wait to see whether or not we can end up getting either the price coming in down lower for us to look for buying opportunities there, or you could end up waiting, because right now we're so close within the seller's area, it might not necessarily be a good idea to look for your buying opportunities. Probably end up having to wait for the price to actually go above this particular area. We see the price holding above, then we could potentially end up finding some nice buying opportunities there. Especially with ranges, what ends up happening when the breaks do end up happening and it is a confirmed breach, they do end up really working out very nicely from those areas. But the only thing you need to be careful about ranges is the fact that they do probe a lot. So you do need to make sure you get that confirmation that that level has actually been broken. So we wait to see what ends up happening. But ideally, the buyers for looking for buying opportunities on the US dollar against Swiss franc seems pretty clear cut as we move on to the next US dollar pair. So right here, it's a brand new entry on our watch list. We have the British pound against the US dollar. So our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. And so this price actually has been coming to the upside, although we do seem as if like some sellers do seem to be coming in and maybe the buyers are potentially struggling. So if I just zoom out a bit slightly, you can see we have been on an upwards trajectory. The market has been trending to the upside very nicely, respecting support and resistance areas. But we do seem to we have slowed down, attempting to go to the upside. So it went from a trending market, so potentially a channeling market, and now it moved to a ranging market. And right now you can see the transition where we are potentially starting to actually start getting lower lows and lower highs. So potentially this market could be transitioning to the downside. Wait to see. But remember, if you want to sell, it's obviously best to sell within an area where there's sellers. So right now, let's hope to see if we can end up getting some sort of pullback within this first support and resistance area. You can see the way the buyers are coming up. We don't necessarily want to sell within, at least in the face of strong buyers. I don't think most people will try and cross the road if a car is coming really fast. It's a similar situation. So don't just jump in on a sell when you're seeing very strong buyers coming in. You could end up getting hit in the market. So wait to see what ends up happening. The price could end up either pulling back in this first support and resistance area. Wait to see what kind of reaction happens here. If we do not see a reaction and the price manages to go up, remember the price can still come back all the way to the top area here within the red support and resistance area before we're able to look for selling opportunities. Now, don't think that just when the market, let's say, for example, it does end up coming to the downside. So if it manages to actually break this area to the downside, don't necessarily say you've missed it, because remember, there's still going to be an opportunity when the price pulls back and falls below this area, you could end up still finding another selling opportunity then. So wait to see what ends up happening. But right now, let's see how this pullback comes in, how far it will end up getting. And remember, watch out for the market opening times, especially when prices are within either buyers or sellers area. There's a high probability that they will actually start moving from those levels. So hope that's clear on the British pound against the US dollar. Let's move on to the next and last US dollar pair we do have. So right here, it's a brand new entry on our watch list, which is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So here, you can clearly see the price has been coming down quite aggressively. Similar situation, we've realized both the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar at around 430 did manage to start coming down quite aggressively, showing us some weakness. So overall, we have broken a major support and resistance area, so we should still be looking for selling opportunities. But you can clearly see right now, we do want to sell. This is not a very good place to look for yourselves because you can clearly see we're within an area where the buyers and you're following the market structure with lower lows and lower highs. This market is trending and we've just broken a support and resistance area. Then the main thing we would want to see is potentially a pullback coming in, inciting a few people to look for buying opportunities before we're able to look for those selling opportunities to come in. So we will watch out for this first support and resistance area. Remember, the price could still break to the downside. If you do see that, try and figure out whether or not it's the New Zealand dollar or the US dollar that's pushing it. The same way we had a look at the euro pairs, seeing that they were breaching a certain area to the upside, and you could see that on all the currency pairs. So do watch out for the same thing right here on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar, whether or not we get a pullback, whether or not the price actually breaches this area to the downside and holds below. So hope that's clear on the US dollar pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the euro and the US dollar with the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to move on to the yen pairs before we do have a look at the indices, then gold and silver. So now these yen pairs, we had a number of them yesterday. At least this is not one of them. These are brand new entering our watch list here, since both the Canadian dollar and the Japanese yen were both on the same side yesterday. But our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. So you can clearly see these are the three areas that we have identified. Right now, the market has made a new low, breaking to the downside. This is a major support and resistance area right here. You can see the price holding within this location, attempting to break this area to the downside, just giving us some probes. But you can see once the price confirms and the holds below, that's when actually a level is properly breached to the downside. So right here, let's wait to see. We can potentially end up getting this pullback because clearly the sellers who are coming in strong do seem to have slowed down. Remember, the market has started off in a trending market, then has all of a sudden switched to some sort of range. Usually that's how the market turns over. We could end up potentially getting some sort of pullback, either coming back within this first support and resistance area. We could be coming back all the way into the main sellers area. But one thing to note, since I've just realized this right now, we do have another sellers area right here that could find the market reacting. So if it does not necessarily react within here, maybe it might need to incite a few more buyers to come in, because guaranteed if the price manages to go all the way up within such an area, all those people who are looking for sales, chances are might end up actually switching to a buy right there. So just watch out for such areas right there. But ideally, remember the main thing, keep on pointing out, buy with buyers and sell with sellers. So since we're looking for sales, you can be able to identify what areas have sellers reacted from. So since sellers have reacted from here before, there's potential that they could react from there again. So the objective is to wait to see whether or not price approaches such areas within the market opening times to give you a potential trading opportunity. So hope that's clear on the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. As we move on to the next Japanese yen pair we do have. Right here, we have the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Our bias yesterday was to look for buying opportunities. You can even see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, earlier in the morning, the price was within this particular seller's area. Remember, we wanted either a pullback to come in or a breach to the upside. Now, it seems the pullback did manage to come in, and we were holding within this buyer's area. You can see at around 3, similar situation, the price was holding, but at 4:30, that's when the price managed to come to the downside. Similar situation or correlation with all the Australian dollar pairs. And we got confirmation it was a proper breach due to the fact that when the price managed to come to the downside, you can see it came back and held below that particular area. So at that point in time, it did end up falling off our watch list. However, today, since our biases have switched, both the Australian dollar and the Japanese yen, we will be looking for selling opportunities on this kind of pair. So we'll be focusing on these three areas to look for sells. You can see we have managed to make a new low respecting this support and resistance areas. So we'll wait to see whether or not we can end up getting this pullback coming in, which it does seem to be doing. But remember, right now we're so close within that area, we might need to incite a few more people to look for those buying opportunities before you do find the price coming to the downside. So you could end up finding the price attempting to break this area to the upside, and you could find the price actually holding below. Because remember, we point out buy with buyers and sell with sellers. So even though the main sellers are right there at the top, you can see the fact this is the area where the sellers did still react from yesterday. There's potential that they could end up reacting from there again. Remember, based on the fact that the yen pairs are very much correlated, if you see it pulling back to such an area, chances are the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen could also be pulling back towards that same area. So just watch out for that. So hopefully that's clear as we move on to the next yen pair we do have. So right here, we have the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Unfortunately, the buys did not work out. You can see early in the morning, well within our sellers area. So remember, we either wanted a breach to the upside or a pullback. Now, the pullback started coming in ended up coming in quite aggressively. Once the price started coming to the upside, we was hoping to see the price actually holding above, then that would have confirmed a very nice buy. But you can see the price came again to the downside. So on the pullback again, wanted to see the price going above, but this just confirmed that the price is holding below, because that was at 3 o'clock during the US market open. And once it did that, wanted to see what kind of reaction would happen within the next area. But unfortunately, you can see once the price broke this area to the downside and held to below, because you can see the price actually holding below that area, then ideally this pair did fall off our watches. And that's the thing that I pointed out. The yen pairs are very much correlated. So if you see them pulling back, you can end up actually getting some entry criteria on the other, or vice versa, where if it does not necessarily show you any entry criteria, then there's no need to actually end up entering any of them. So the fact that the biases have switched for both the Swiss franc and the Japanese yen today, so overall our bias has switched and we will be looking for selling opportunities. We have identified these 3 areas of interest that we will be looking for ourselves. So right now, we actually have started getting a pullback, which is definitely what we want. You can see the sellers side slowing down, the buyers have come in, but we need to see at what point these buyers are actually going to tire out. So let's hope to see if we can end up getting some sort of probe or price action signal within that particular area. We can see we have a small location right here where the buyers do seem to be pushing upward. There's a possibility the price is able to break this area to the downside. We could actually see the price holding below and coming down. Might not necessarily be the best opportunity, especially based on risk to reward. But remember, our focus is always getting a low risk, high reward. In this situation, it doesn't even necessarily even give you a 1:1. So that's the reason why it could end up happening. But overall, our hope would be for the price to actually give us a pullback. And since we've seen the other yen pairs and identified there still seems to be some sort of level within that particular area. It's either there or it could be within that area where you could find the price spiking up to before actually reacting and coming to the downside. So overall, bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. Let's see how far these buyers can come in and whether or not the big boy sellers are actually going to show that they are interested. So hope that's clear on the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen as we move on to the next yen pair. So right here, we had the British pound against the Japanese yen. These were the 3 levels that we did have yesterday. Because remember, the market was ranging, bouncing between these 2 levels, and we did want to look for buying opportunities. The price was so close within the seller's area, and we did want a pullback to come in. Now, the price managed to come down. It looked as if it had probed within this area, initially bouncing within these locations. It attempted to come to the upside, and this was around 3 o'clock. So thinking if the price is going to hold above this area, there would have been a buying opportunity. However, you can see at the timings at 4:30 during the New York Stock Exchange, the price managed to come to the downside quite aggressively and confirm that it was actually a breach, because once the price came down and held below within this area, then ideally this pair did fall off our watch list. But the good thing is today, back on our watch list, because both the buyers of the British pound and the Japanese yen have switched sides. So we will be looking for selling opportunities on this time pair, just focusing on these 3 areas to look for the sells. We have made a new low. We are getting a pullback back within the range that did end up happening. So there's potential that we could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity here, but it's not yet time. So hopefully we can end up getting some sort of probe price action signal within that area to look for selling opportunities. But remember, as long as we're holding below the red SNR, our bias is to look for sells. If the price breaks and goes above this particular area, then the probability of the trade working out does not. It really goes down, and that's the reason why these pairs do fall off our watches. So hope that's clear. Let's wait to see what ends up happening, whether or not we can end up getting that pullback. And right now, just because we're within that area, don't just start jumping in on selling opportunities. Yes, you're within a seller's area, but look at these other buyers who do seem to be pushing to the upside. So if you compare that strong buyer, even just making a new high, you might still find the market actually just maybe giving you a pullback within the support and resistance area before attempting to go to the upside. So you do need to wait to see at what point in time the buyers actually slow down, then the aggressive sellers coming in. So if that's clear, we move on to the next and last currency pair we do have, the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Seems the yen pairs, remember as I pointed out, one pair works, chances are all of them will work. If one pair does not work, chances are all of them will not work. So you can see yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. We were within an area where the sellers, so we needed either a breach to the upside, and that would have given us some proper confirmation to look for the buys. But you can see the market did end up reacting, coming to the downside, managing to come down lower. Wanted to see what kind of reaction happened within this location. Then this was around 5:30, just an hour after the New York Stock Exchange did open. Well, it did seem as if it was holding, but later on, you can clearly see later on during the evening, once the price broke to the downside, confirmed it held below, this pair did unfortunately fall off our watch list. So that's the reason why none of the yen pairs really did work. And that's how you can be able to use correlation as well to avoid certain losses as well. So wait to see in this pair, at least since our bias has switched, we will be looking for selling opportunities today. You can see we've made new lows. So right now we've actually even ended up probing some sort of area, very close towards a buyer's area. Remember, we need one of two things. This pullback either needs to come in within either this support and resistance area, or could end up even coming back up all the way to this support and resistance area right here. Because remember, buy with buyers and sell with sellers. But either way, if the price is able, you can see there could be the option of the price actually breaking this area to the downside. If it does do that, then you wait for a hold below for us to look for yourself. So remember, you can see the price has attempted to do that, but if it did not hold below, that was just a probe. But if you get the price holding below, that will confirm that that level has been broken. Then you should be able to look for selling opportunities then. So hope that is clear on all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the buy side with the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to have a look at the indices, then move on to gold and silver. So we'll start off with the NAS 100. So on the NASDAQ, yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out, and due to the fact that the market was in the middle of these two areas, we did point out that we needed one of two things. Either the price actually giving us a pullback, coming back in that seller's area, or the price is actually going to come down and fall below. So you can see it ended up doing the latter, where the price managed to come, breaking this area to the downside, confirm that it was holding below. It did not take off until just before the US market. So it's either at 3 o'clock that you could have taken the trade, or even at 4:30. As you can see, that's when the market really did take off to the downside. So overall, the sales did work out quite well. And our bias today is still going to be looking for these selling opportunities. So our focus is going to be on these three areas, look for the sells. So right now you can clearly see we have managed to make a new low. We are starting to get a pullback coming in, which is definitely what we want to see. So wait to see what kind of reaction we get within this first support and resistance area. If we do not see any reaction here and the price breaks and falls above, chances are we could still be coming back to the red support and resistance area. But remember, as I always point out, as long as you're holding below the red SNR, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. If the price breaks and falls above this red support and resistance area, then ideally this fell. Ideally, at that point in time, we will actually start looking for buying opportunities. Ideally, the NASDAQ, the US 30, they seem to be always on our watch list. It just depends on what direction we are actually taking them. So moving on to the Dow Jones, similar situation with the NAS 100, where we did end up either wanting a pullback coming in or the price actually pushing this area to the downside because we were just in the middle of these two areas. So unfortunately, it seems now the price managed to actually come to the downside. As you can see, once we came down, it looked like initially probed, but it confirmed that it was coming to the downside, where we did get a small pullback around 4:30, price holding within this particular area. And we did end up getting the market actually continuing to come to the downside. Because you can see the price has attempted to break this area back up multiple times, but the price actually kept on holding down there. So you can see after that, the market actually ended up making some new lows, which is definitely a good thing. So overall today, bias is still going to be looking for selling opportunities, although our levels have changed. So overall, we will be looking for selling opportunities as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area. So right now, we are starting to get a pullback. Let's see what kind of pullback we get within this area. If we do end up getting some sort of probe price action signal, it would be a good thing to look within our selling opportunity here. But remember, the price can still come back all the way to the main red support and resistance area. The main thing for us to wait for, or at least is to look at, is how the buyers are coming in and whether or not we will end up seeing whether aggressive sellers are actually going to show their faces before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. So hope the Dow Jones is clear as we are waiting on that pullback. We'll see what ends up happening. So moving on to silver and gold. So we'll start off here with silver. Now, silver seems to have been giving us a very deep pullback. So you can clearly see these are the areas that we had pointed out to look for buying opportunities. Now, the price did seem to bounce within this particular area. This was during the Frankfurt market open where the price was playing around within this area. The London session open, still similar situation where the price was just ranging. But once the New York Stock Exchange did end up coming in, you can see the price came down lower, showing us confirmation it was holding below. It doesn't mean that it was a sell, because remember, as long as we're holding above the red support and resistance area, our bias is to look for buying opportunities. So you can see the market has at least tested this area multiple times. The fact that we have gotten some sort of probe within here, I think even if Praveen, you are watching, I know you're probably salivating about this trade, but this probably does end up looking quite good based on the fact that we have gotten a very nice probe within the main buyers area definitely incited very many people to look for selling opportunities. And you can see the reaction of the buyers coming in and the rejection that the buyers are actually giving. So wait to see what ends up happening. This one, we will still be looking for buying opportunities. Might end up just ranging within here to look for buys. If you do miss the buy and the price is able to come up higher, remember, if you do get the price reaching and holding above this area, you should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities. But be aware, as long as you're holding above the red SNR, our bias is to look for buying opportunities. If there could be also the chance that the price ends up coming to the downside. You can see it has tested that before. But if we do get the price coming down and actually holding below, then that would actually confirm that this market has actually switched its bias. And at that point in time, we can actually start looking for selling opportunities. So for gold and silver, they're within similar areas, within an area where they're buyers. So if we do cross this level, we'll switch and turn into sellers. But if, as long as we're staying above, we will be looking for buying opportunities on silver. So looking at gold, and moving on to the last pair, we will see with gold, it's pretty similar. It's similar story with the with silver as well. Can even end up going to the 1 hour quickly to see. You can see the buyers, or at least the main buyer who pushed the market up, does seem to be within here. They pushed it, made a new high. And since then, the market has just been ranging. But as long as we're holding above this red signal, we were still looking for buying opportunities. You can see the problem with ranges, how many times they end up probing within the support and resistance areas. But overall, you can clearly see even yesterday, even though the price attempted to go to the upside, the fact that we managed to get our pullback coming in during the London session, sorry, during the US session, the price still holding above. You can see the Asian big boys attempting to come to the upside. So our focus will still be on the same levels, still looking for buying opportunities as long as we're holding above the red SNR. If the price breaches and holds below the red SNR, then at that point in time, we will actually start look for selling opportunities at that point in time. Right now, our bias is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We do have this blue support and resistance area here because that was the main support and resistance area of the buyer who did push this market to the upside. So you can see within this particular area, as the price was holding within here before the buyers did manage to take off. So even though the range is holding between these two levels, you can see this blue support and resistance area is still being respected based on how many times the market has actually tapped this area. So it's no surprise that the market today has managed to come down. You can see it attempting to breach this area. The fact that we're holding above could be a good sign, but the only problem is we're so close within the seller's area. So jumping in on a buy now might not necessarily be the best choice. And this is how a lot of people end up getting stopped out, where they jump on the buy, not realizing that you're so close within a seller's area. Which in order for you to be safe to jump in on this buy, probably need to end up waiting for the price to actually breach. Show us confirmation it's actually holding above. And if we do see that, then we should be able to look for a buying opportunity. But for right now, you could easily find these sellers reacting and the market actually starts coming down back within the buyer's area before you find the buying opportunity coming in. So we wait to see what ends up happening. So it could potentially be something like that. But remember, as long as we're holding above the red SNR, our bias is to look for buys. If by any chance the price breaches and falls below the red SNR, then at that point in time, our bias will switch and we will start looking for selling opportunities on gold. So I hope that is clear for everyone as we have looked at all the kinds of pairs. As you can see, mix and match pairs on the buy side, the sell side, had a look at the indices as well. Did mention in terms of fundamentals, not really much happening. It seems that the Asian session did end up having a lot more news at that point in time. So you can see the yen, the British pound, the Australian dollar did come in the fundamentals. But you can see during the London session, there's nothing really happening. Because remember, the London session is from 10 till or at least once the US market opens at around 3 o'clock. So nothing really is happening then. And you can also see during the US session, there's a number of speeches at around 5 with no real activity. But remember, that doesn't mean that there won't be movements. Remember, the market opening times for the US have changed. It has become 3 and 4:30. It has moved from 4 to 5:30 to 3 to 4:30. So do make sure you remember that. So I guess that's it from me. Let's see if there are any questions in the chat box. I'm not seeing any, which is okay. We do need at least there's 10 more minutes to be able to jump on the Frankfurt market open. If nothing happens during then, at least at 11 o'clock, there will be the London market opening. But remember, this is the last month that's going to be the case for the London market. The same way the US has changed, the London timings will change, I think, by the end of the month. So it will move from 9 and 10 from the Frankfurt market open at 10 the London market opening at 11, it will move 1 hour behind. So you'll find that the Frankfurt market open will be at 9 o'clock. And as we're finishing this session at 10 o'clock is when the London session will be opening. But we will make sure to inform you on that. So once again, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you have found value in this session. Hope you do end up making some good tips on the chat. Remember, if you do want more education or seeking education, feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details are in the video description below. Once again, thank you guys so much for joining me. Hope you have an amazing trading day. God bless, happy trading, and bye for now. Cheers, guys.